Soulbridge family. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to discuss what mediumship is today. I remember being a platform medium, and I was at the Spiritualist Church doing readings on people, and afterwards I sat with the board of directors and then went to lunch with an individual. And while I was sitting at lunch, I was talking about some of the readings that we did, and I had a giant horse come through, and the head of the horse was from my belly button up to way over my head. And I had no idea horses' heads were that big because I haven't interacted much with horses up close and personal like that. But the horse was speaking to me intuitively. You feel it as almost picture language, silent communication, and it's downloads of information. The horse was saying something about, it showed me a window that the lady could open. She was handing an apple outside to the horse, and the horse said, I can eat a whole apple, not just the slices. And it said, I like apples. And when I gave that message to her, she said that she used to open her window and talk to the horse that passed away, and they actually buried it in the yard, and years later they moved away. And she said, I wonder if the horse is mad at me. And I said, the horse loves you, and you were a dear friend to that horse, and thank you for opening your window and feeding it apples, because it really loved apples. That was really touching for me, because animal communication is not something that I normally bring through. I also usually don't bring through relatives. I know that mediums work in different ways, and they bring through different kinds of information. I tend to work with spirit guides. And so, I think everyone's always looking for proof. Oh, prove that you're talking to this one, or prove you're talking to that. I don't work with proofs. I just work with bringing through my information, and I give it to that person. And then I say, and I leave that with you and cut ties with that, so that spirit won't follow me around and they'll go back where they came from. I was a platform medium for 20 years. But COVID closed our church down, and I kind of found myself moving away from that. And so I've gone to launching Soulbridge Holistics, working one-on-one with individuals, working online, doing distant healing, doing Reiki work. And I still have the mediumship abilities, and I still work with my own spirit guides, and I can still connect to your spirit guides. And I can connect to those specific beings, because I don't just trust talking to anybody who walks in. Some mediums do that. Sometimes they're good at that. The most dangerous thing that I think is people who have seances and just go, let's bring through anybody, and you'll get anybody. That's what you'll get. So, when you're going to do healing work or mediumship, and you're working with energy level influences, and beings who have no physical bodies, you definitely want to put white light around yourself, ground yourself, run your energy, which I haven't taught yet on this channel. I will have a whole video about running energy, but putting in divine protection, calling spirit guides, calling your angels to protect you, and surround yourself with white light and create a buffer around yourself so that you are working within your own energy, and that's not influenced by outside forces. So I spend a lot of time keeping myself pure, keeping my energy clean, so that I'm working from a clean workstation, so to speak. And I'm trying to keep myself balanced, keep myself spiritually clean, like trying to see out a window. So Windex your window and clean it, because all the spots and debris and everything on there filters information, and can work in the same way that when you put a pencil into water and look at it, look at the side view of a glass and the pencil looks bent. It's the filters tend to warp the information you're receiving. So you want to make sure you're receiving accurate information. Clean your filters, and make sure that you're presenting information as accurately as you can, the way Spirit is intending for it to be brought through. And that's what I try and do. So I will talk with people about their life paths, things that are coming up, what their energy looks like. And I read chakras too. So I'll look at people's chakras and say, you know, this one's out of alignment, that's out of balance, this is too big, that's too small. I actually had a person who, I didn't know a thing about him. He was a coworker, but he wanted to engage me. So I said, let me run your energy and clean your chakras, and I'll do an energy healing on you. He's like, no clue what that is. And he told me later on that he had been incarcerated for 30 years. And, you know, as I started to warm up to him and he started to warm up to me and started to tell him that information, suddenly that reading I gave him made a lot of sense. So let me tell you what I saw. I did a reading on his chakras. And as I went down all the chakras, I went, that's weird, they're all shut down. All your chakras are smaller than normal and they're all shut down. Now, why would a person shut down all their chakras? So that they'll become numb, so they won't feel anything. Well, if you're in prison, you're going to habitually train yourself to shut down because that's survival. That's what you do. In that kind of instance, your survival shut down because you're shut away and you can't change your circumstances. Your second chakra, interpersonal communication. If you've ever watched videos about inmates and how the behavior is inside institutions, they say you're straight at the gate, but gay for the stay. And so they have inflicted upon them personal relationships with bullies and people that they would not normally communicate with, let alone the fact that they're physically being manipulated for personal purposes, let's just say, by really grotesque people who have some perverse sense of direction while they're there. And yes, that is quite frightening, and you would shut down that second chakra. As for the third chakra, in the gut, your intuition and your gut, even if you can see them coming, even if you can sharpen implements for self-protection, whatever it is that you have, because they'll take cardboard and try and sharpen it to turn it into some sort of instrument for self-protection. Sooner or later, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if people there get ulcers, or they're just sick all the time, or they have stomach cramps, because that's all third chakra reactions. And that one was really shut down for him also. The heart chakra was shut down. I think a lot of people who do their time and get out feel unworthy in society, and it takes a lot for them to build up their profession and get going in a meaningful way in society again, and then try to connect with someone to create and form a meaningful bond. That person had connected with the first woman he found and married her, and then sure enough later on they find out they're probably not a good fit, but it's too late because he spent so much time whining and dining her trying to get a connection and get a relationship together. So of course he was still married to her and looking elsewhere and attempting to flirt with me, which that's not going to get him very far, because I'm a healer and a medium, so my focus is on healing people, not intimate relations, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I think on the topic of mediumship in general, if you think about artists like Picasso, Rembrandt, Da Vinci, all those different artists who make different kinds of works, every artist has different kind of works. I took a lot of different classes and did training with a lot of other mediums and healers, and I actually took a class once in holding an object and reading its vibration and its connection to its owner, and trying to see if we can ascertain information about that. And so we were all given a piece of, there were like 5 people in a circle. We were all given a piece of property from an individual and said, read this and tell us about the person. And it tells you a lot about where my focus is, because I saw myself in a male body with a very large stomach. The person was having a lot of breathing problems. They were trying to trudge up a hill, and they were holding some kind of a big box with a handle on it and having problems holding that weight and walking at the same time, and really huffing and puffing for air, and kind of a sense of dissatisfaction. The person doesn't like their life. They don't like the job they're doing. This is getting really tough. They feel physically exhausted and very tired. That was my take on what was happening. And everybody else in the circle, it's called psychometry, by the way, shared what they were seeing. And it turns out that the guy was a plumber. So here he is carrying his box of tools. They said yes. Some people saw him doing the plumbing. Some people saw him working with pipes. Some people saw him, working in a house. Everybody saw different aspects of that. I tuned in a lot to his body condition and how he was feeling in his body. That's my area of expertise. So everyone's going to tune in on different things. They all saw different things, but they said, yeah, he's a plumber, he's overweight, he's having problems breathing, he's having not so much enjoyment with his kind of employment that he does anymore. He's feeling kind of old. He is feeling like he needs to maybe cut back on his hours or, do some kind of other work. He is starting to feel like he needs a change in his life. We're all seeing pieces of that, but what I saw was that person's body, the state of consciousness in that body, how he felt in his body, the condition of his body. These are the things that I pick up when I'm doing readings. And I'm working with spirit guides who are healers. And so, of course, my focus is on healing people, mentally, spiritually, and physically. Those are my areas of expertise. So when I say mediums and healers, I'm speaking specifically of myself. Of course, everything I say is always my own opinion, and I always have to say that because I'm coming from my unusual perspective, and only I can be me, and only I can represent Soulbridge Holistics because it's specific to my focal point, my life path, my mission on this planet. And I'm sharing it with people who have all different kinds of expertise. And so as Team Earth and Team Soulbridge, what a wonderful thing that we do all together sharing. And I'd love to see positive comments below where you tell me what kind of healer you are, if you actually understand what mediums do, how important it is, especially when someone's crossed over and they're talking to a relative who's passed away. Like my brother's wife is there, my brother is there, my mother and father are there, and interacting with those spirits on the other side. Yes, I do interact with them, and yes, they do tell me messages. And so you can get feedback, you can get an update, you can see them progress while they're on the other side. I've watched my mother progress from what was a very war-torn person who had emotional issues and was kind of bipolar. I've watched my brother progress. He was an inmate. He was in prison 3 times. He loved woodwork, but he had a meth addiction. And so on that side, he shows me that he continues to do woodwork. And he looks now at the woodwork that's going on in different countries and different kinds of building styles, and he's kind of fascinated by that. When a person's getting a message from the other side, sometimes there are different senses involved. You might smell a perfume they used to wear. You might smell the tobacco they used to smoke. With my brother, he always brings through different music, like especially stuff from his era in the 70s. Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog comes up for me right now, but he loved Three Dog Night. He liked the Rolling Stones. And so I'll start singing songs like that I know I never really listened to. I just heard them on the radio, 30 years ago, and suddenly they're coming up for me, and I'm like, oh, hi, Luke, I know it's you. And so the minute I acknowledge him and he knows that I'm tuned into him, then I'll start to get a message come through. And usually it's going to be in downloads, little bits and pieces. He'll show me something he's working on. He'll come through if I'm doing woodwork, and he'll go, nice job building that quail coop or chicken coop, whatever you're doing. And I'll go, I'm glad you like this. Great. But I never got a chance to do woodwork together with him while he was on the earth. So sometimes those spirit guides actually share perspectives with me, like, oh, here's some tools or thoughts, into that you could consider implementing into that project that you're working on right here. And so I get input from spirit guides, just like when I was working with Faradir when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. She would tell me what I could do with plants or what I could do with animals, and encourage me to go sit by the stream and watch the animals in the water. And I still use that as a form of meditation, watching animals in water. So I love watching my koi swim, and I had a lot of aquariums. So did my brother growing up. So he taught me a lot about aquariums, and he used to build them from scratch, cutting the glass with a glass cutter and using the sealant. The smell of sealant was in his apartment all the time because he had all these different kinds of aquariums he was putting together, and then he'd sell them. That was his side gig. And then he'd keep all kinds of animals, reptiles, little animals like hamsters, pet rats, and then different kinds of exotic fish. And he liked the more aggressive fish, like Oscars. So he would always tell me about fish. But I got to understand how aquariums work, that they're an ecosystem. I got to understand more about microcosms, like there's a whole world inside a pond. There's a whole ecosystem of this plant being eaten by that fish, and then its doo-doo becomes fodder for the plants to make them grow. It's their fertilizer source. Then the plants grow, and then the fish eat the plants, and the way that comes around there. And then how the sunlight interacts with the plants, and the fish interact with sunlight, and the vitamins and the minerals in fish food that I put in there, and how all of that interacts and works together. It's beautiful to see these system exchanges. So I've spent a lot of time meditating, looking at bodies of water and ponds. It's a really big one for me. As far as meditation, there's a lot more ways than one. I used to teach meditation classes in the public library, and I would teach people different ways to meditate. For example, walking meditation, walking very slowly and very mindfully. There are some Zen Buddhists who practice meditation by drawing sand or pouring sand, making designs, doing geometrical designs in sand. The Diwali festival in India, where people use paints and powdered paints, and they use those not only as a celebration, but they have spiritual meaning for using sands or paints or things that you can interact with in your environment to help you with your focus, your spiritual focus. So everything that I'm doing right now, I really see as part of my mission, my spiritual path, my God-given spiritual abilities. And it would be a shame if I didn't utilize that. There are people out there who can't get access to information like this. They don't see enough of it. They don't see representatives of my kind on the internet making videos so that they can say, finally somebody like me, finally someone who understands me. No, I am not a freak. When I was growing up, people were being shut down for talking about things like this. This is your imagination. This is not real. You're making this up. It's mental illness. Lots of dismissive attitudes until there is an abundance and a preponderance of these kinds of people, until there's a wake-up call and they go, okay, well, there's so many of us now, it's hard to keep ignoring that or keep saying that that's not relevant or this is not real or you're making that up or it's mental illness. You can't say that to me because I'm not on any medications. I'm mentally sound. I'm spiritually developed. I'm intellectually astute. I have lots of degrees and credentials behind me. I am just a really solid human being with great references and a good reputation. And so when I'm giving this information, when I'm putting it out into the world, people have to think twice and go, well, if Julie's saying this, then there must be something behind this. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's not all woohoo. But I do want to put out the word of warning that there are still snake oil salesmen, and there are people who put out content where they're pretending. And there will be people who, there have been mediums in the past who do fake readings because they need to collect the money. And I'm not that kind of person. That's not me. So just a word to the wise that no matter what you pick in life, there's different qualities of product and different qualities of consciousness of the creators, the people that are actually creating content or giving services. So doing Reiki healing, doing mediumship, that is service work. It is considered a service. However, selling mini books on these topics is something that's a product. I will get into that as my YouTube channel expands and I start to create a YouTube store. You will see an availability of mini books. So you can practice positive thinking or positive sayings or productivity or focus or meditation techniques or grounding and energy work. those kinds of techniques I'll make books on. The other thing on the more human side of things is self-esteem, self-guidance, neutrality, understanding that you're a spiritual being and how important you are in the world, understanding what goodness is, and that you are a whole and complete and beautiful person and worthy of dignity. You are worthy of dignity. So I would like to salute all my Soul Bridge tribe out there today. Namaste to you. And wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you for listening to my content. Thank you for respecting me the way I respect you. And I'll see you again. Please like, share, subscribe, put some positive comments. Have a wonderful day.